The charismatic vocalist of Maroon 5 and a former coach on The Voice, Adam Levine, is no stranger to generating headlines with his charm, wit, and larger-than-life demeanor. He has helped Maroon 5 win multiple Grammy Awards. On the other hand, during a recent appearance on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon in the summer of 2025, he recounted a hilarious anecdote about a pet purchasing misadventure that had the crowd in fits of laughter. Additionally, he provided an insight into his dynamic relationship with his wife, the supermodel Behati Prinsloo. It was the ideal combination of chaos, love, and the unpredictability of the delights that come with being married, and the narrative was full of the distinctive comedy and sincere honesty that Levine is known for. According to Levine, it started on a bright and beautiful morning in Los Angeles when Behati, an animal lover who has a soft spot for rescues, quietly said that she wanted to bring a new furry pet into their household that they could call their own. As it was, the couple already had a menagerie of pets living in their home, which included 2 dogs, a cat, and a particularly cantankerous parrot named Pablo. Levine maintained that Pablo had a specific vendetta against him. However, Behati's eyes brightened up at the prospect of a new friend, and Adam, ever the doting spouse, made the decision to take matters into his own hands. I thought to myself, how difficult could this possibly be? I'll surprise her with the perfect pet, Levine said to Fallon, his smile already hinting at the havoc that was about to ensue. Levine's objective was straightforward. He wanted to acquire a one-of-a-kind pet that required little care and would bring a smile to Behati's face. He decided against getting another dog or cat since they were too predictable, and instead he found himself looking through listings for unusual pets on the internet. "I'm not saying I'm proud of this," Levine admitted, leaning forward with a devilish twinkle in his eye. "But I got sucked into this weird corner of the internet where people sell, like, miniature pigs and fancy lizards." Levine was leaning forward during the conversation. He was encouraged by Fallon, who was scarcely able to conceal his laughs as the audience screamed in approval. An advertisement for a miniature teacup pig named Sprinkles was discovered by Levine after he had spent many hours exploring the internet. The ad characterized Sprinkles as adorable, house-trained, and perfect for cuddles. A photograph of a teeny-tiny pink piglet with a teeny-tiny bow was included in the listing, and Levine was ultimately purchased. It's true that Behati is a big fan of cute stuff, right? And this pig was literally a living emoji. He continued, imitating the expression from the piglet's eyes, which were wide with delight. He made arrangements to pick up Sprinkles that afternoon without consulting Behati. He contacted the seller, a happy woman named Darlene who lived in a suburb outside of Los Angeles, and planned to pick up Sprinkles. He confessed that the first error that Levine made was to assume that Darlene's enthusiasm was a positive indicator. "Are you aware that she was very excited?" A phrase along the lines of, "Oh, you're going to love Sprinkles. He's a star." It was Levine who narrated the story, imitating her unduly upbeat tone. By the time he arrived at her residence in his classic Mustang, he was imagining the ecstatic response that Behati would have when he gave her the piglet. When he arrived, however, things took a different turn. At the door, Darlene greeted him with a large crate, which was not the kind of crate you would anticipate for anything to be called a teacup. "I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's just a fancy carrier," Levine stated while shaking his head. "I'm thinking that." "Not at all. Sprinkles appears, and this pig is not anything near the size of a teacup." According to Levine, Sprinkles was not a delicate piglet, but rather a linebacker of a hog who weighed at least 60 pounds. The audience exploded in applause when Levine described Sprinkles. His hands were raised in the air as he yelled, "This thing was bigger than my dogs at the time." As if walking a pig was a typical Tuesday pastime, Darlene asserted that Sprinkles was still growing into his personality and handed Levine a leash. She did this without showing any sign of bewilderment. In defiance of his better judgment, Levine paid the agreed-upon sum of $500 in cash, as Darlene requested, and then hauled Sprinkles into the backseat of his Mustang. Once inside, the pig immediately began gnawing on the leather upholstery. The journey back to the house was described by Levine as a nightmare worthy of a Maroon 5 music video. Sprinkles made a series of noises, including snorting, squealing, and at one point, an attempt to get into the front seat. Levin added, his dramatic delivery causing Fallon to burst out laughing. Sprinkles, chill. The car smelled like a barnyard, Levine was sweating, and Sprinkles had left a trail of ruin in his wake by the time he pulled into his driveway. Sprinkles had also left a track of destruction behind him. On the other hand, the most difficult part was probably introducing Sprinkles to Behati. According to Levine, he had envisioned a romantic comedy-like scene in which he would present the piglet with a flourish, and Behati would be overcome with emotion. As an alternative, he entered their home while wearing a suit that was covered in pig hair and a sheepish expression on his face. He was accompanied by a pig that was on a leash. "Babe, I have something special in store for you," he exclaimed, making an effort to seem joyful. Behati emerged from the kitchen, took a single glance at Sprinkles, and then was so overcome with laughing that she had to lean against the wall in order to contain herself. During the pauses in her laughter, she murmured, "Adam, what is that?" "That is not an animal kept as a pet. It is a farm animal." Sprinkles chose that moment to knock over a coffee table, which resulted in a vase falling to the ground. Levin attempted to salvage the occasion by explaining his vision of a teacup pig, but Sprinkles chose that moment instead. The movie with their dogs is called Redemption. When Pablo the parrot became aware of the disorder, he began squawking profanities from his cage, which contributed to the chaos that was already present. Despite the fact that she was still laughing, Behati gave Sprinkles a bowl of apples in order to calm him down, demonstrating that she has a natural affection for animals. "She's like the pig whisperer," Levin exclaimed in awe as he shook his head dramatically. "I'm over here in a state of panic, and she's controlling this beast that is eating out of her hand." There was more to the story than that. After Levine and Behati came to the conclusion that Sprinkles would be happier in a home with more space, they looked for a nearby animal sanctuary that would be willing to take him in. The statement was made by Levine, who stated, "I drove him there myself, and I swear he gave me a dirty look when I left." Behati made a considerable contribution to fund Sprinkles' care, and the personnel at the sanctuary gave them the assurance that Sprinkles would have a prosperous life with other pigs. When Levine stated this, his tone became more gentle. "She has a heart of gold," he remarked. "The fact that I brought a wrecking ball home did not even cause her to become angry with me." Fallon, who was wiping away tears of amusement, asked the crowd if they would consider getting another pet, while the audience shouted with delight. There was a theatrical grunt from Levine. He remarked, "Behati is already planning on adopting some rescue bunnies. From this point forward, I will only consume goldfish." The narrative, which was both humorous and endearing in equal measure, highlighted the interplay between the pair, specifically Adam's impulsive exuberance and Behati's capacity to easily roll with his shenanigans. One misadventure at a time, it served as a reminder that even rock stars and supermodels have to work together in order to maneuver through the absurdities of life. When Levine had finished telling the story, he smiled and sat back in his chair. What is the moral of the story? Make sure to check the size chart before purchasing a pet online at all times. A cheer went up from the audience, and Fallon referred to it as the best pet story ever. As far as Levine and Prinsloo were concerned, it was merely another chapter in their love story. It was a story filled with love, laughter, and a pig named Sprinkles that came dangerously close to taking the spotlight.